since it got requested during the week, if anyone feels like watching, this is my process for practice and setup. Just get out there and drive it on stock to get used to the track and try and find lines, and then start tweaking it to how I want the car to drive. The stock is very light on front aero compared to how I've been setting it up, but it's fine for getting out and testing the track. Don't know Sepang particularly well, so still trying to figure out brake markers and gears and speeds through corners and lines. Should have been out wider coming in there. Drag this over onto screen for now so you can see this is how my tyres are doing. You can't get all the tyres up to the correct temperature, so we're aiming for pressure, and on the mediums the front left and the rear right are optimal, but the rear left's a little bit overpressured, which is not good for grip on the corner exit, and the front right could do with another pound of pressure in so it could get the turn in. Very initial snap into the corner. Cutting too much. For anyone who happens to stumble across this video, you can probably tell just from the practice laps that I'm not even close to the a good sim racer, but I have fun. Open wheelers are definitely not my forte though. Tend to have a slightly easier time in GT cars. too much at the back. Way too much. Let off the throttle to coast sooner than I should have. Oh, she started to step on the entry there. Need to be a little bit more harder on, a little more aggressive on the brakes. Adjust these tyre pressures. Off. I'm also going to adjust down my aero a wee bit. I've been running on the TARDIS. I've been running a 4 degree of wing balance between the front and back, which seems to, I find, is quite a nice balance for the car. And last week at Bahrain, the 8 on the front and 4 on the back was a little bit too light. I probably would have been better off the 905. We'll start with the 905 here and see how we go. medium set will knock those down 1 more PSI, but the front is okay at the moment. Still haven't quite got my line into the second part of that. I'm going in too hot. Lower my brake pressure a little bit and push my bias forward just a touch. PB. Leave my arrow there for now. Where are we? Generic. Bias to 54, brake power down to 95 to try and stop those lockups. How's that going? Knocking at the PSI off the back tyres. A couple of laps out with this. At the moment, because of how the car's behaving around some of these corners on what are still relatively fresh tyres, I'm not in a hurry to stiffen the suspension up, unless it's just the front. But of course that'll put a little bit of other steer into the car. I don't want the arse to be too stiff and for it to become a bit too wayward on the exit of some of these corners, especially once the tyres wear out, and especially when I switch it over to the hard tyres a bit later on. Pressure off and then bias forward a couple of percent and it's calmed down around that corner. Probably helps taking the pressure out of the back tyres as well because they're staying at 25 psi, setting up to 26 before going in there. pat wrong, but just a little dab of brakes before turning into the second pat seems to have improved my line through there a little bit. Won't know until I don't cock up part of it though. Car's so much more comfortable through that corner now. Still haven't quite figured out turn 1 and 2. I've mostly gotten lucky through there when I've had a good lap. But it's just mostly down to car setup, to where I put the car, not the setup or anything else. That was better, let the car drift out wide, just give it a dab of throttle before you let off for the next one. Things are where they are at the moment with the aero and we changed brake bias, brake power, and set the tyre pressures for the medium set. That's going to be my work in progress setup one. Now I'm going to play with the alignment a little bit, knock a bit of camber out of it, and see how it goes. Tell anything on this early part of the lap because as you can see until now the front right's starting to cool off, but all my tyre pressures and temperatures were at optimal from the blankets in the pit lane, so I won't get much of an answer on anything. Taking that camber down's possibly made the arse a bit loose, so I need to get around for another lap and have a look at that. flying mate with the new cams. Let's see how we go. Hello.
I decided to bail last night after losing connection on turn 2.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, hang on. Discord's still going. It's just the game that's dropped out. Yeah, I might as well just get up now because I have to do a restart or else I'll start getting my game glitch. And then by the time I get in, we'll probably be down to about lap 3. And no, I'm just going to have dinner. It was weird, even on Netflix it kept like stuttering. At one point I had no volume but I had sound. Then I lost it all together. Then I had to restart my modem. Then I got it again. And then it was just off and on, and then we just gave up and watched more TV with ads.
You. Oh, if you hear me suddenly start talking to myself, it's because I'm live streaming my practice and car setup.
Okay.
Explaining my methodology, which is probably training anyone who's watching this to do it all the wrong way. Not liking my current change. Yeah.
I was looking at the results. You were leading for 9 laps. What happened?
What happened? I never had the pace. The only way I was staying ahead of Carbo and Drav as they kept getting onto each other and slowing themselves down. So I was staying a couple of seconds ahead of them. But I was basically, all the gains they were giving me, I was throwing away with little losers. And, yeah, it wasn't very stable.
So my race strategy was, I was going on mediums to start with, and on mediums with that fuel load, I was doing 2 minutes 0.5 or 2 minutes 0.6 with about 30 odd litres, 35 litres. I was going to do that for 8 laps and then go to the hards, and on hards I was able to do the 1.4s, I think it was. Actually no, I think, yeah I did, I got down to a 0.6 with about 30 litres of fuel. So I thought, oh, I should be fairly competitive with that. And I got a good start. I got up into 3rd. I can't remember who I passed to get into 3rd on turn 1. And then I just disappeared, turning left into turn 2.
Yeah. And I had a nice start. I went right around the outside of Drav and was tucked up underneath Carbo's wing on the exit of turn 2. And,
really?
Yeah.
Nice. Also, I would have been just coming in behind you on turn 2 then.
Yeah, in my mirror I saw your car disappear through the ground. So
yeah.
I think Drav had a little bit of as I went around the outside of him, I think he had a little bit of a squirrel. So you probably ducked past him before turn 2.
Off the start line.
No, but to get 3rd, because I was 3rd on the grid, and I went into turn 1 to the left of Drav, who was in 2nd.
Okay.
Carbo was out front, and I went around the outside of Drav. And therefore had the inside line going to turn 2, and but I think he had a little loss, so you probably would have gone past someone else and jammed past him before turn 2.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, I was on the inside coming into turn 1.
Yeah,
and
everyone went to the inside.
Turn 1, I was in really tight, leaving you guys plenty of room on the outside to fight it out, and you've gone around the outside of him, and I've probably squeezed him because I was up the inside. So maybe that, yeah, nice. But yeah, I was a bit pissed. I was ready for a good race.
Yeah, but I
go hard the full distance.
No, I was actually planning on stopping and putting hards on. So putting a fresh set of hards on. Because half-worn hards, even before they go green, still aren't as fast. Even before they go yellow, they aren't as fast. And also, when you stop and put fuel in but don't take tyres, you've then got like a lap and a half where you've got to try and get the temperature back up in the tyres.
Okay, yeah.
So you're actually slower for those laps anyway. Yeah. So I was figuring, fuck it, I'll probably get a bit more time being on fresh rubber.
Were you switching to mediums, or did you?
Well, no. So this is the thing. I always set up 2 strategies. So I always set up a fuel strategy with mediums and a fuel strategy with hards for my first stop.
Yeah.
And then adjust that when we have a if we have a yellow. So what I did is I knew I could get, I could easily get 6 laps out of the mediums, like without even thinking about it. I could do 7, but the 7th lap I'd have to take it easy, and I might be able to squeeze 8, but I didn't want to do 8, so that's why my strategy was to do 12 and fuel up and put a fresh set of hards on for the last 8.
Okay.
But when we did 2 laps of caution, and I was still going to get those 12 laps out of the tyres. But what I buggered up is I actually would have gone, because of 2 laps of caution, I could have put an extra lap of run time into the fuel tank if I hadn't cocked it up. Yeah. What I should have, because Carbo was faster than me, and he was faster than me, and the only reason he didn't pass me sooner is that I held my line, and just the few times he managed to get up inside me, I was taking the line that I knew I could get him. I could stay on. Yeah. Like at the end of the fast left-hander at the end of the back straight.
Yeah.
I knew that I could go around the outside, and then you've got the fast right-hander heading up the hill.
Yeah.
So as long as I could stay on his outside, I'd have the inside line running up there, and with the rotation of the corner, I'd probably squeeze back ahead again.
Yeah.
So I did that to him. But what I should have done, because he was faster, is just let him go and tuck on the back of him. Because if I sat behind him, with the draft, I could have coasted and saved just a little bit of fuel, because I was 0.1 of a lap short to go an extra lap on the strategy. So I probably got a bit too keen during the cautions, which has burnt just a little bit of fuel, more fuel than I should have. But if I'd been smart about it, yeah, I should have given it up.
I was on mediums. I was going yellow, I think, on lap 5 on one tyre. But I could take it through. I did 11 laps on it, and I was dropping about 0.4 of a second from maybe lap 9. Up until lap 8, I was still pulling personal bests on mediums.
Is that in practice?
Yeah, in practice.
See, that's the thing. I've found every single time we've done these, I'm like, I can get 10 laps out of a set of mediums. I've done it 3 times in practice. It never ends up working like that in the race, because you drive it harder, you actually find time because you're stuck up the back of someone who's a little bit faster than you. You drive different lines, it puts more wear on the tyres.
My plan was only doing 8 laps, so I thought at 8 laps I should be down to low enough fuel.
Yeah, but that's the thing, when you're in practice, when the tyre starts to wear out, you're being very careful, whereas in race, I tend to not notice that my tyre's worn out until it starts to get loose on me, at which point you give it a bunch of time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, like, it's good in practice, but never works out that way in the race.
Yeah.
That's why my strategy was like, yeah, in theory, in practice, I can get 8 laps on a set of mediums. I'm not even going to attempt that. I'm going to go onto a fresh set of hards and hope that the time loss from something like Carbo, I knew Carbo was going to go the whole distance, so I was hoping that time loss on worn tyres plus the outlap on cold tyres was going to be the difference in the tyre versus the fuel change.
So where were you guys coming out of the pits after your...
Well, that's the thing. There was a bit of an incident before that. So, and this is why I'm saying I should have just tucked behind Carbo sooner, because part of what happened is he got a draft on me up the front straight and took the inside line. I took the outside line, which I'd driven around him once and driven around Drav once on the outside line, so I knew that was the line I wanted. Because if you go around the outside, you've got the inside run to turn 2, and that's the fast line up the top of the hill. Problem is, I don't know why, but Carbo pushed me a little bit wider than he had the first time, and so I didn't anticipate that. And when the moment I saw his car pop into view, I'm like, oh fuck, and I sort of let off my steering a little bit. But then at the moment on the track where on my normal line, or even on the slightly tighter line, I've pretty much started to straighten out and apply the throttle, I still had a fair bit of steering lock on. So I got the throttle going and the arse just stepped out, and it speared sideways and just tapped Carbo. Wiped out pretty much all my front wing. I was down to like a deep orange colour on the damage meter. Carbo copped damage as well. I don't know how bad his was. He didn't seem to affect his pace at all. But that's the thing, it stuffed my... Like, it was fine for speed in a straight line in the early part of the straight, but I sort of lost 5 or 6 Ks off the top end, which counted on the big straight at Bahrain. And I did not have... I did, and I was just saying, I lost all my turn-in for the corners, so I was struggling.
And it's not worth fixing in pits because you just lose.
No. That's the thing. So Carbo ended up about 3 or 4 seconds behind me after the incident, and because it wasn't a bad move. It was just the car got loose, and it was unfortunate. I didn't redress it. I just kept going, figuring, oh, if I happen to finish above him in the race, we'll look at it, and I'll probably just penalise myself back to the position behind wherever he finishes. But yeah, I didn't need to, man. My car got really fucking unpredictable in the second stint. Well, you know, No, like, really, like, damage should not have been causing that behaviour. I went into, you know, would be second to last corner, which is like the long right, a fast right going up the hill, followed, then it suddenly tightens, and you got that, then you got the straight down to the last corner.
Yeah.
So that right-hander, I went into that corner the same way I always did. I had, what, 2 lap hold, or maybe even only 1 lap hold medium, so they should have had all the fucking meat in the world on them. Brakes like I always do, and it was, my car behaved like I had all rear brake bias, and just immediately flicked around on me, and there was nothing I could do. I just went off the track.
I found when I was at certain stages, I was having to put more front bias on my brakes because I had the back end going, so it was something to do with fuel light. And I went, oh shit, this happened to me each other time when I got down to about this level, so I ended up flicking up the half position, and it zeroed it all.
But that's the thing, it was instant, and I already run, well, at least for that race, I ran quite a forward brake bias anyway. So, I just, it wasn't like it was starting to get loose the lap before, it's just like, it went from tight on the track, tight on the track, tight on the track, running like a 55% brake bias, to, nah, fuck yeah, and just letting go on the back completely in like one of the fastest corners of the track, and like the corner where I made up my the most time I had on the other guys as well. And suddenly I had to drive around it really gingerly.
You did good then, you did in second. Oh sorry, yes, only 2 seconds off.
Ah, that's because they were fighting. Carbo and Drav had a proper fucking battle for like the last 5 laps, that's the only reason. I was actually about 10 seconds adrift of them.
Yeah.
So.
My thought was, Carbo's going to do full stint, so I'm going to come out in mediums and really make him have to push it to keep me off him, because I was only running 35 litres of fuel, and mediums, I'd be able to really push him hard, or if I got past him, then he would be chasing me pretty hard. And then the plan was early pit stop, come back out with all the back runners, zoom past them, and then hopefully catch everyone else in the pit later on, while you guys all fought it out at the front.
Well, I jumped Drav in the pits. It sounds like it was probably because he slowed down a little bit heading into pit lane, but I'm not sure, because it seems like I gained like 4 or 5 seconds on him. Yeah,
Carbo did that to me last week. We both did splash and goes, 1 lap apart, and he gained I think 6 seconds, or 4 or 6 seconds, and I'd had a pretty clean out lap.
It's about time though, eh? Like I said, clean or not, you still lose time on those cold tyres coming out.
Oh yeah, it was twitchy, but I felt it was pretty good still. Like I didn't do any big fuck ups and go off or lose too much time.
No, but that's the thing, if his car's lightening up and he's you know, on the lightest fuel he can be for an extra lap.
Yeah, true.
He's got bedded in tyres that are probably still green after 12 laps at Melbourne.
But still, if you said 1.5 seconds.
No, but that's the thing, if you lost like 8 tenths, 9 tenths because of cold tyres, like not because your car's getting loose, just because the car literally won't grip up around the corner when it's got cold tyres, so you have to slow down. You will lose time guaranteed on cold tyres, even if the car is still stable. It's going to be slower.
Yeah.
And if he's running the lightest fuel he can for an extra lap, because he's been stuck with you the whole way, now he's got one more lap on light fuel, and his tyres are better. If they're still green, and knowing how Carbo can drive on half-worn tyres,
they would have been green because they were hards.
Yeah, but that's the thing, you know. So they would have been green, even partly worn, still green. They lose a bit of grip, but with that light fuel load, bedded in tyres up to temperature, he probably would have done 4 or 5, been getting faster and faster every lap, and without you behind him, he would have had optimal line the whole way.
Yeah, true.
You know, that's you suddenly, that lap where you stay out the extra lap, as long as your tyres aren't fucked, it's almost like quality, because you got next to no fuel, no one in front of you, and you've got that, you know. If he's got the track to himself, he's got optimal line and everything. So that he would have made, you probably would have found that was probably one of his fastest laps of the race.
Yeah, true.
Because that's the thing. It's I'm always unsure how to go. Do I try and make fuel last and run like heavy at the start and go as long as possible, and then run a short fuel stop? Or do you run lighter and spend longer? Like, that's what I've been wondering. Like, if there's not much time difference between the hards and the mediums, like, is there enough time gained if you go, oh, instead of taking 45 litres, I'm going to run 35 litres in the car, because that'll take me 10 laps, and I'll stop 2 laps sooner, put fresh tyres on, put another 35 litres in, or top myself up to 35 litres.
Yeah.
And go for the last 10 laps on fresh changed tyres. Will you make enough time with the lighter fuel load to mitigate the time in the pits, especially since like Carbo's not he's not changing tyres?
Yeah, changing tyres is about 2 seconds on when I did a full fuel load and did a pit stop and took what I'd need to do the rest of the race. I reckon it's 2 seconds difference on Carbo in practice when we did it.
I think I'll buy myself in here now. Didn't see Drew leave.
I've just had the wife come upstairs, so I'm going to head off.
Okay, buddy.
Alright, I'm glad you still had a good race, still got points, so...
Yeah. I didn't care where I finished. The racing was good. Like, you know, I had a couple of laps properly dicing with Carbo. Strategy really actually came into it. And I'm just a bit gutted that I kind of fucked it by losing on that corner and giving him a tap, because I ruined my own chances as much as his of doing it clean and doing it proper.
Yeah. Probably seeing Funky up in 6th ahead of Lama.
Funky did pretty good. He stayed out of trouble for the most part. I think he copped damage in an incident but stayed out.
Yeah.
Funky's usually pretty decent in the open wheelers. It's actually, I think it's the strongest class car.
Yeah. I think,
considering we ended up with yellow flags, mate, you probably would have had time to reconnect and catch up to the pack and just be at the back.
But how it was with Netflix, there's going to be anything like that. I think it's not where it was dropping the internet altogether. It was just must have just lagged to that website. I remember I had this ages ago when I had internet issues where it was dropping for quite a few milliseconds. And just to kick you off the system.
So this is the thing I was saying, you know, when Higgs and Meriden started talking about who's lagging, who's not, and they're like, but ping's fine. It's like, yeah, but ping actually means nothing. I'll say it again and again. We had the one bloke from the States join us briefly. I think he was in it for one race. He was like 350 ping, but his car was solid, and it was, you know, that little net connection shutter that you get, you know, where you just move up and down the track slightly. Like Carbo gets it real bad. Like he'll.
I get it on Carbo all the time. I've actually tapped the back end of him because I was about to pull out in park past him, but then suddenly he shot ahead. I thought, fuck, he's just done a gear change, he's taken off. So I moved back, just going behind him again, and next minute, bang, I'm hitting him.
Yeah. But I mean, remember, it happened with me and you in the TT Cups at Nürburgring on the back straight. I thought I was getting ready just to clear out and pull off line, and then suddenly, bang, hit the back here. Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, well, I know it's not my connection, because I'm 2 feet from the server.
It's funny because I get it with Carbo, but I don't get it with many other people. And I thought maybe it's just the offset between our
Carbo, between you and Carbo is probably quite bad, because his car does do that. It's quality of service, not ping. You can have low ping, but if you're dropping packets, that's what happens to your car.
I'm on probably 50-year-old cop on the beach.
Yeah.
So there's a fair bit of corrosion going on. They've already swapped me twice, I think, on the lines. And what really annoys me is all the cable, or whatever the MPS you call it over here. It's 1 block from us in a new subdivision.
Yeah.
But there's still no date on when we're going to get it. It's not even in the pipeline.
You want to know what's going to shit you? Is in the pipeline for New Zealand. Do you know Mangawai? Mangawai, you know where Wellsford is, north of Auckland?
No, I've only been north of Auckland once.
Okay, well Mangawai's about an hour north of Auckland. It's a beach community. There's
something like Russell?
No, it's a holiday beach community. There's actually a lot of people that live there that probably come to Auckland a couple of days a week for work. Like, it's close enough that you can commute, but far enough away that it's a cunt of a commute. But it's the middle of nowhere. There's maybe a few thousand people living there. If I had to guess, I'd say maybe 5,000 or 6,000 people live there year round. And because it's quite a big place, but it's mostly fucking holiday homes. And they're getting fibre next year. This town in the middle of nowhere is getting fibre next year.
That's right.
And which densely built up area in Australia do you live?
Yeah. I'm an hour north of Brisbane. Actually, about 80 kilometres north of Brisbane.
Yeah, but are you in a small town or you're in a dense urban area?
It's the start of the Sunshine Coast, which is multiple cities.
Yeah. So, but it's a fairly built up urban area.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a city.
Yeah. That's what cracks me up. It's like obviously they're still rolling out fibre throughout Auckland, but it's gotten to the point where like, oh, we can't. There's enough cruise free that we can start planning all the rural rollout now.
Oh yeah, I better roll.
Hey, buddy. Well, if you're watching this, we've got a wee bit sidetracked in the middle, but this happens when I said on Discord when I'm practicing. My lap suffered a bit. I wasn't paying as much attention to the track as I should have been. Didn't like the camber change. I changed front and back initially because the balance of the car on the stock cambers felt right, so I didn't want to shift the camber between front and back too much. But I think it was a trade-off for the front camber because it felt better in some corners, worse in others. But the rear camber there was not really any gains to be had because it was getting loose in some corners, and I don't think it was helping too much in others. So that's why I put it back up. But the next one, just to see if I could get the car to rotate through some of these corners, was a little bit of that rear rebound up, just for when I'm coasting in the corners. So when you let off the brake and coast, it helps a little bit, but I don't know if it's making a huge difference. I think it's other stuff in the setup needs to be adjusted, and the lines that I take need to be adjusted to make bigger differences. That or I need to try and find more mechanical grip in the back so I can lower the wing a notch and run a five wing set difference between the front and the back instead of 4. getting through the fast right hand part of that before I got into the braking zone. My rear lift went yellow on the tyre meter, which usually means it almost immediately drops a significant amount of grip. Don't think mediums are going to be part of a viable strategy around here without caution flags, because we've got to do about 20 laps and I'm just at the end of lap 4. Too late slowing down for the right hander. Oh yeah, that's the yellow tyres. Yellow tyres and using that, quite possibly that adjustment to the dampers didn't help that either. Just trying to make the car rotate a bit more. So load me work in progress 1 again. How badly will I affect my mid corner if I soften up the back? Oh, if anyone has watched this far, when I'm doing suspension changes, in a set of courser on the left hand side, you've got your actual settings changes, and most of the time it's just in notches or units, like, you know, 30 on the front roll bar doesn't mean anything, it's just a position. And same with height, it's positions on the adjuster on the car rather than an actual measurement. It's everything that you change is then given out to you in the readings over here in the car status. So I recommend that if you change the suspension rate, you adjust the ride height to put it back to its original setting, because ride height changes will also affect the handling. So for this case, I start with 42, so drop my wheel rate, I'm going to jack my ride height back up so I get 42 on the rear. And then worry about ride height later, just work on the suspension change now. Softening the rear could have one of two effects. It's pretty much guaranteed to add a bit of understeer, mid-corner understeer especially, into the car. But I'm hoping that I'm going to gain stability on the corner exit when I do get the power down for a run out of the corner, which is usually where, if you're chasing someone down or being chased, I tend to get a bit throttle happy, and instead of regulating my throttle input, I tend to forget and I just plant my foot. Mistakes are made, car gets loose. The flip side is that I may introduce understeer, and whilst it might be a little bit more stable on the corner exit, I may actually slightly bugger it with the turn-in, because the turn-in will be slightly more, initial turn-in will be slightly more aggressive, with the ratio difference between the front and back. You know, so the front being left the setting where it was, soften the front. You'd have a similar effect if I stiffen the front suspension. You'd get a sharper turn-in, probably lose a bit of mid-corner grip, and you'd force the car to oversteer on corner exit as the weight shifts back onto the stiffer suspension. So by softening the back, hopefully the snappy turn-in shouldn't hurt. I just need to adjust my turn-in points if I need to at all on some corners, which, as you can see, are not particularly fucking consistent for me anyway. The unwanted effect of softening the rear suspension is now I'm allowing the weight at the back of the car to move around a bit more, so it's entirely possible that whilst I might gain a little bit of... Oh, that's just a bad line. That's not the setup. Whilst it's entirely possible that I might get a little bit of stability, I might have, in the corner exit, I might have stuffed myself at the corner entry, because the weight of the car's turning in faster, so the weight's going to shift faster, and by softening the rear springs, I'm allowing that weight to move more. Try it with the softer springs on the rear first, and if I don't like it, it's not to say that it's all an entirely bad set, but we'll reset the car back to this is the rear suspension back to the original setting with the ride height, and then I'll move to the front and I'll stiffen the front, because it'll in theory have a similar effect, but I won't be allowing the weight at the rear of the car to move too much. I'm not a very good talker and driver, I need to pay attention to the road more. I also don't have any Twitch or YouTube chats open. I really need to find a way to combine both of those so I can see them. I won't necessarily be talking on a Sunday night race, but if anyone's genuinely bored enough to be watching me now, I could be talking back. fast through the corner. That corner I finally figured out I need to let the car drift all the way out to the left through the first part. I don't have to sacrifice so much speed mid-corner to get around. Alright, might as well still a wee bit all over the place through this part of the course. And the first part of the course. All over the place through a lot of the course. So, my rear left is worn out, so we'll see how stable we are through here. So far I'm liking the slightly softer suspension at the back, but there's definitely a little bit needs to be changed around it. So I'm getting, or I've got to change around it, potentially change the car around it, because I'm getting more turning than anticipated, but I have lost a bit too much mid-corner in some corners, more than I'm happy with anyway. But with the extra turning, it could be fixed with a simple toe change. I'll do that at another time. I fucked that corner up. Big time fucked that one up. Recap changes made anyway. So still running the medium tyres for the sake of testing. 17, 18, 15, 16 the tyre pressures. Now it's to balance out, you can see the app in the bottom left to get the tyre pressures sitting near optimal. Haven't touched the fuel. Front wing pushed up to 9, rear wing up to 5 from the default of 6 and 6. Alignment ended up not changing off the default at the moment. The camber will definitely need some adjustment. I reset the dampers back so we didn't make any damper adjustments in the end. Drive chain we never touched. Brake bias I put forward just a touch, and the brake power is 95 just to try and stop the lockups. Big change was the wheel rate dropped a notch to 80 from 94, and the ride height adjusted to keep it at 42. But now, because of that suspension change, I'm getting sharper turn-in than I had earlier, and a little bit of loss on the mid-corner. So between a camber adjustment at the front and possibly at the back now as well, because the car's rolling a bit more, The turn-in and mid-corner could possibly be fixed with a toe. So at the moment we've got a positive toe, a very slight positive toe, 0.02 degrees. If we were to, wrong direction, change that to a slightly more positive toe, that would reduce our turn-in and in theory give us a little bit more mid-corner. The downside to the toe being a bit further away from zero though is that your straight line speed will suffer a little bit, but it shouldn't be significant enough. But yeah, next time I come back and do some practice and testing and set up, that'll be my next stop. I'll be loading up this, which is going to be my work in progress too. And it'll be alignment time. Dampers, I don't really touch the dampers on the TARDIS. It's pretty good as it is, relatively generic. At least as far as I know. Dampers is generally a mystery to me, even with a set of courses, attempted descriptions on what the effect should be. Anywho, if you happen to have been watching, catch you later. Yeah, cheers guys.